Brought to you by the EveryDollar app. Start budgeting for free today.
Let's talk about the scariest, latest trend in the mortgage world.
Ooh, zero down payment mortgages return. The return of the zero down payment mortgage amid high housing costs. George, I wanted to jump out of my skin when I saw this. Here it is. United Wholesale Mortgage, it's UWM, it's like a billionaire. There's a billionaire at the helm of this company, and so he's launched a new 0% down mortgage program. And I'm going to read this as it is, but just know, I don't think that this is good, but they make it sound good. This program allows qualified buyers to finance 97% of their home's value with a first mortgage. The remaining 3%, up to $15,000, is covered by a secondary mortgage. So you're starting out with two mortgages that carry no interest, but, and this is a big old booty, must be repaid in full when the home is sold.
The mortgage is paid off.
Or the mortgage is paid off.
Or you refinance.
You refinance. That's a lot.
That's some handcuffs, right? This is a tiny prison that you are paying to live in. That's what's happening here. So here's an example. Purchasing a home at $300,000 would entail a $9,000 no-interest loan for your down payment. To qualify for the maximum $15,000, your house would be $500,000. So the maximum you could get is $15,000, which means the maximum home price would be $500,000.
But can we just talk about the big elephant in the room, which is you want to get a $500,000 mortgage. Do you really think you should be getting a $500,000 mortgage if you can't put up any cash for a down payment?
Most people doing these are broke, which means they have no savings, they have no emergency fund. One emergency pops up, they're going further into debt on credit cards and trying to keep up with a massive mortgage.
Yeah, massive. And I'm just, this is steps away. I don't even think it's steps away. I think it is a catfish of a subprime mortgage. The only difference here is that you do have to have a 700 credit score or higher. So, there's that.
And there's a threshold if you earn up to 80% of the area's median income that you could qualify with a lower score of 620. 620 or higher.
Yeah.
Woo. And I love the quote from the CEO here, this billionaire. He's like, it's going to change the game this purchase season. No other wholesale lender in the country offers this. This is the equivalent of saying, hey, what a blessing it is to get a 0% car loan that you overpaid for. So let someone who makes $40,000 buy a $60,000 car. That's the equivalent here.
And I believe I read somewhere that, I believe it, you can look it up for yourself, but I believe I read that with the zero down, the mortgage rate is slightly higher as well.
Oh, I imagine they screw you with fees.
Yeah,
they're winning here. There's a reason he's a billionaire. He's not doing this to be generous.
That is so true. But, I have to say, Americans, we have a short memory. We really do. We come upon hard times. When it was 2007, 2008, it was like, I've learned my lesson, and everybody kind of learned their lesson. And then we acted stupid just a few short years later. And then COVID happened and it's like, I'm drawing a line in the sand. And then, COVID money started coming and we started acting stupid again. And now here we are again. And it's like, we get desperate. And Dave says all the time, after you get desperate, pretty soon you're getting stupid. And we're seeing zero down mortgages and we're seeing a comeback of things like 40-year mortgages.
Oh my gosh.
And I read, George, that 15-year in the last 2 to 3 weeks, we've seen a 15% increase in adjustable rate mortgages. As a way for people to get in and be like, I'm going to lock in this rate for 5 years. And then at the right time, it's like on the one hand, you're making a very short-sighted choice because you're saying, I'm going to get an adjustable rate mortgage and I'll refinance later. But then you're also trying to predict the future by saying that you'll have the ability to refinance at a lower rate and the market will be exactly what you want it to be. And
basically, people justify their way into these terrible situations and get starry-eyed about what the future will be on paper.
Yeah.
And here's the real risks. The main risk is that you start with no equity. Since you're not putting any money down, you're 100% financing this, which means you're probably going to be underwater on your home if the market changes at all.
100%.
It's a scary place to be. Another issue, if you need to sell quickly due to unforeseen circumstances, which happens, in that case, you still need to repay the second mortgage.
You owe it all in full at once.
Even if you're underwater and don't have the money.
Which means you're coming out of pocket or you're coming out into more debt to do it.
Whew, that's scary. And if you want to refinance, well, you need to have the funds because you got to cover that $15,000 you borrowed.
Yeah, you can't even refinance. So let's say you jump into this mortgage and let's say rates do go down. Let's say in the next I mean, we can't predict this, but let's say by January, we go into a new year, new election cycle, election cycle's over. And let's say interest rates go down, but you've already gotten nice and cushy in this zero down mortgage, and you can't even refinance because you have to come $10,000 out of pocket to do it, or $13,000 out of pocket to do it. And you can't. Now you're stuck. Like, these are the things that it bothers me. It makes my heart hurt.
It makes me turn into a little curmudgeon. I'm just like, why? Why, America? I was already there. This is not helping anything. So please do not fall for these mortgage traps. If you listen to the show, I pray that you are smarter than falling for traps like this.
Yeah. Back when this stuff was
prey
popular.
on people.
Back when this stuff was popular, George, 07, 08, back when ARMs were popular, back when most of those, I read a stat that said 1 out of 8 ended in foreclosure because people who couldn't afford something were just trying to hustle and get in line to afford something they couldn't afford. Meanwhile, what's the harm in renting? Can we talk about that? Like, what's the harm in you just going, listen,
well, I'm not building equity, Jade. I'm throwing money away every month.
Are you, or are you just buying time to where you can afford something and actually have it with peace? George, I tell the story, I'll tell it again because somebody probably hasn't heard it. My husband and I, we rented for 11 years. 11. And for one of those years, the year that goes down in infamy, we had roommates. And so,
as a married couple.
And, I don't take it back. It gave us time to pay off our debt. It gave us time to save up our 3 to 6 months. It gave us time to save up a down payment. We saved up a little bit of extra money because the house that we moved into was needed some work, needed a lot of work. And we were able to do a little bit of it to move in. But it's worth the time to do things right. Baby, you can do it. Take your time. Do it right. Do you know that song?
That. I wish I said I could.
It's a lyric.
Not as hip as you.
I think it's chic. But anyway, take your time and do it right. That's all I'm saying.
That's good. Yeah, and it's hard to go, I got to wait to buy a house. I know home ownership is an amazing goal. It's an amazing dream to have. But this American dream that we're going to own a home one day, it's become a nightmare for so many families that fall for traps like this.
It is.
And you can hear it almost every call. They go, our mortgage is 50, 60% of our take-home pay, and we can't breathe, and now we're considering selling our house.
Oh,
Don't
that's
let
even
that
worse.
be you.
That's even worse. You think about how emotionally invested you are when you buy a house. Then you have to turn around and sell it.
That's why.
Debt.
Wait until you're debt-free. Wait until you have the emergency fund. Wait till you have a solid down payment so this house is a blessing, not a burden.
Create your free every dollar budget today, the simplest way to budget for your life.